I look like I'm in a beach hut. Hello, my name's Lizzie. I'm Anglican. In 11 days' time, I'm going to be moving into a convent ready to become a postulant. I'm in a little shed in my parents' garden, so I apologise for the lighting of it. It doesn't help that I'm so pale. I might need to try and find a sheet or something to cover the window because, yeah, you might only see hair and eyes at some points. Um, it feels a bit grand being in a garden because I've spent so many years in a very like inner city context. I spent a few years working in supported accommodation, and then I've lived in a block of flats, and the kinds of flats that I'm most used to in the city are the ones that aren't the ones for people that've got a lot of money, but like the opposite. And so just having a garden is quite a novelty in my mind. So I feel a bit grand being somewhere with a little garden. But yeah, I'm in the garden, in a kind of this little shed has become my filming studio. Um, so I thought I'd just make a little video about what I'm most nervous about, because people have been asking me the last few days, are you really excited about moving into the convent? And to be honest, um, excited isn't really a word that I'm feeling. A few months ago, it was a word that I was using, and that was more because having met this community, it really did feel like the end of a long journey of working out where God wanted me, and it felt like I'd discovered the place where it felt that I am meant to be. So it felt like I'd come to the end of this long journey finally. But then, having said that, all I am doing in reality is starting a long journey of discernment, because this whole, as you've probably seen from my other videos, that the whole process of going towards becoming um, a fully professed sister, it is a long discernment journey. So although I feel like I've come to the end of one journey, I'm just beginning a long discernment journey of another kind. And in my mind, I don't think discernment ever comes to an end, like discerning your vocation, because like, even if you were to become a fully professed sister, even once you are a sister in a particular religious community, surely you've then got to discern what your vocation is within that community, and then the community is always trying to discern where God wants them, or what God wants them doing in their wider context. So I don't think discerning your vocation ever comes to an end, even once you've found the community you belong in, if God is calling you to a religious community. But anyway, that was a bit of an aside to say that a few months ago I did feel more excited for those kinds of reasons, whereas now I feel something more like nervous. Although that might be a bit too strong a word, but it's the closest word I can think of to describe how I feel. So I just thought I would just explain what it is that I feel most nervous about.
I will hold your people in my heart.
I think I'm gonna have to find a sheet or something to act like a curtain. But basically, the what I feel most nervous about is like making like lots of mistakes, which I think is probably inevitable because I'm going to be new and making mistakes all over the place, basically. Um, and I suppose, but what's a bit more like daunting is if you live on your own and you make like certain mistakes, it only really affects you. Whereas in a community context, if I like do things wrong or turn up like late for something, it affects other people. So I am really nervous about like getting various things wrong. But I guess I would have thought that's fairly normal because I'm the newcomer. I'm like someone that's, or I feel like someone that's going into their first year of high school, which is quite a daunting thing, and I know that there's so much for me to learn, and there's like a whole system of ways of doing things that I need to learn and slot into. Um, so basically, that is the main thing I feel nervous about. Um, but I guess it's good to feel like that, and it's good to have things that you it's good to get things wrong, in the sense that at least I think that can be part of formation, actually, like learning that you're not perfect, and learning that you can't always get things right is probably like good for you spiritually and psychologically and everything. And when I was praying about this the other day, I was thinking in terms of, I want to make sure I get things right with this community, and I felt God pointing out that part of living in a community is experiencing that when you get things wrong, you're still like loved and forgiven. So it's not actually just like we have to let ourselves be loved by God, and maybe have that as our main emphasis rather than trying to please God all the time. I felt that actually there's a side of that that's true of community as well, that of course I'm going to try and do things like obviously do my best to get everything right and take on board all these different things I'm being taught, and make sure I do things how I've been asked to do them, and do things like accurately and on time and everything. But if I do get like make mistakes here and there, I felt God saying it, yeah, but part of being in community is actually that if you do make mistakes, realizing that you're still part of the community and still like forgiven by them and still loved by them. So that was just something I felt God kind of reassuring me about and not being overly, like not being like so like overly scared about things like making mistakes when you're new. So that's the main thing, that I'm just wondering, like, will I forget to lay a certain table if it's me that's asked to lay the tables in the refectory, or will I like turn up late for a meal accidentally if there's a day of the week when meals are at a different time, and stuff like that. But yeah, it's good to be in a position that the sister said that they've all been in this position where they used to be good at the things that they used to do, and then they were suddenly kind of new and not so good when they entered the community. So it's a good kind of journey to go through, of actually feeling like you're not getting things right, or that you're struggling with things. That's probably actually quite a healthy position to be in. So I'm realizing that these things that I saw as things to be nervous about, I'm realizing are actually part of spiritual formation. And actually I was thinking also that at the end of the day, I'm guessing, or it makes sense that like the sisters, I think probably more than someone that comes in and does things perfectly and gets everything right straight away, I'm guessing actually what a community most needs, and what God most needs, is someone that's coming with like a humble attitude and willing to learn. And I'm hoping that aiming more for that is of more importance and more value than getting everything right. And I know that I won't get everything right, and it'll take quite a while to learn all the different bits and pieces of how to slot in well, and do all the things that to all like the systems and methods that are in place and everything. So I'm trying not to be like overly nervous about it.